Hello, and welcome to the Games Creed podcast. I'm your host, Andresplays, and today we have a very special episode for you because Square Enix gave me the opportunity to have an insightful and emotional conversation with Roosa Jokiaho, the lead cinematic artist of In Tanta We Trust, the DLC of Forspoken. She has previously worked on Quantum Break, Control, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So thanks for tuning in, and enjoy. Hi, Rosa. I am just so glad that this conversation is happening. As you know, I am a huge fan of Forspoken. I stayed up late the first, the night it came out at midnight. I am a huge fan of the game and also of the DLC, which is the topic of today. In Tanta We Trust. Today we're recording on May 23rd, which is great timing because it came
Yep.
out on the 26th. And I feel so grateful because I started working as a professional gaming journalist last year, and I would have loved to review Forspoken, but I jumped at the opportunity to review In Tanta We Trust because what I love about it is I wanted to show like objectively in a way. I mean, obviously every review is subjective, but I wanted to
Yeah.
show what it is that I loved about it. Right. And obviously in Intanta We Trust is it's distilled into this action-packed emotional journey that I did love. And I wrote 1,500 words and I could write like so much more, but now that I get the chance to speak with you as the lead cinematic artist, right? Uh,
Yes.
is there anything that you would like to say as a preamble?
Yeah, well, it's been really wonderful watching how much you love Forspoken over the past year. It's brought a lot of joy into my life, so thank you.
Of course. I mean, yeah, and not only, me, I think that when you found me, I guess in a way, on
Mhm.
social media, I also found like-minded people throughout the year, and,
Yeah.
and until now, and they keep popping up. So I'm really excited
Yeah.
for the future. That yeah, there's a lot of people that have discovered Frey's journey since it came out, and also the DLC. But anyway, we can
Yeah.
head in on the questions now, if you'd like.
Sure, let's
Um,
get started.
yeah. Okay. In Tanta We Trust is a very cinematic. I mean, obviously, the base game for Spoken is as well.
Yeah.
Um, but because some things that a lot of fans wanted to see, which is obviously Frey and Tanta Frey and Tanta Cinta, spending more
Yes,
time together.
for
uh,
obvious reasons.
yeah. I wanted to ask you what were your primary goals in Frey's prequel journey and how they would impact her psyche.
Right. So even though it's like technically a prequel, it's also not,
Mm-hmm.
as like the events take place after the main game.
True.
So, as such, the most important thing for me was to show how much she's grown and how she's come into her role as the protector of Athia.
Mm-hmm.
And the journey that she goes on in the past serves
Mm-hmm.
as a call for action. And it's kind of also showing like what her next step should be. And we also see her determination in proactively taking that step. So yeah, it's very different from the Frey that we see in the beginning of Forspoken, right?
Yeah, that is very true. That word you said there, determined, because she is very determined. You see that, in those first scenes when she discovers, and I love that,
Yeah.
that she tries to use her powers, right? And and I love that everybody steps back, so like, oh wow, she's gonna do something, and then she
Yeah.
realizes she doesn't have them anymore, but she still is very like unbreakable in a way. Like right now, she takes everything as it comes. Yeah. Well, next question. And I think that's also a part of it. Because then
Mhm.
she meets Albacore in those first scenes, and
Yeah.
obviously, sorry, before that, we see the revelation that she's not Frey, that she is Thalia.
Right, right, right.
So, what inspirations or cinematic aspirations were you aiming for when creating Intensa We Trust?
Uh, well, let's start with the inspirations, I
Yeah.
guess. Uh, Well, one of the big ones for me personally would be Sailor Moon, which I grew up with, because I don't know how familiar you are with Sailor Moon, but there's a similar arc in
Hmm.
the story where Sailor Moon's daughter, Chibiusa, or you might know her as Rini,
Hmm.
comes from the future to ask for the help of Sailor Moon in the past. But the Sailor Moon of the past isn't the mom that she's used to.
Uh-huh.
It's still an immature girl, and then Chibiusa is quite as at a loss. And I feel like, well, it's not quite as extreme
Hmm.
in Tanta We Trust, but we do have like a similar structure of character development for Frey and Sinta as there is
Yeah.
for like Sailor Moon and Chibiusa. So yeah, like if you go in looking at the parallels, you will find a lot of those in there.
Yeah, that is amazing. Just sorry to interject, but that is just wow. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love, to have this interview with you. I would have never imagined.
Right. You don't really like, even though there's a lot of similarities, it's not that obvious unless you like actually think about it.
Of course. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then for like the cinematic aspirations, I think the main ones would be to achieve a more seamless and high quality experience as compared to the main game. We got a lot of fair criticism about outdated fade to blacks in Forspoken, and also
Mm.
about how they disrupted the flow of the story and also the quality of the facial animations.
Hmm.
So these were the things that I really wanted to hone in on in the DLC and fix.
Yeah.
So for example, like the Fade to Blacks were partly in place because we had some technical limitations.
Hmm.
So we decided to kind of bypass, or like we figured out ways to bypass that in the DLC.
Hmm.
And one of the things that we did was to, instead of actually being fully seamless, we used action cuts
Hmm.
into the scenes where you kind of continue the action the player was doing in the first cut of the cinematic, which
Hmm.
kind of creates the illusion of a seamless transition.
Yeah.
And then for the facial animations, we updated our check flow to
Hmm.
make sure that it hits the quality bar of everything else as well.
Hmm. Right. That I think that's something I hadn't thought about, but it really does, as you say, hone in the camera when you first see Aldacor Frey's expression of surprise and fear, and
Yeah,
also fish out of water scene. Obviously, that's also all imbued in there.
yeah.
And
And a hard one to get right was when Frey gets the tattoo and she's in pain, and you want
oh,
that to look good as well, right?
that, yeah, I mean, as you know, I just replayed it, and I mean, it's such a fantastic DLC. Now that we're talking, and
Thank you.
and those details on her arm, the tattoo, and I love that what when Kov says, "What is the tattoo?" Right, or something like that.
Yeah, right.
This scene is amazing. It gave me goosebumps. Even though I knew it was coming. When Frey's about to be attacked when she breaks out of jail,
Right.
and boom, right, like Cinta's there.
Oh, I get goosebumps also just thinking about it, even though I made it.
Yeah, and well, the question now goes is, what were the most important story beats and acting you believe had to come through in the performance of the characters?
uh, well, starting from where what we were talking about just now is that one of the really important beats was to introduce the younger Sinta, of course, and to make it really clear that she's a different person from the Sinta that we met in Forspoken, because she's young
Mhm.
and hasn't had the life experiences that the older Sinta has had. And that was maybe the most important one. And then other pretty important ones were, of course, to show the goals of the Riddick, and also to show that Aldacor has this crazy amount of devotion towards what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then, like we talked about already, the showing Frey's maturity and new understanding of the complexities of being a Tanta, and also the relationship between Frey slash Thalia and Sinta, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it comes to mind when she says, "Mom," and Tinta's, "What did you
Right.
say?"
It's kind of heartbreaking
Yeah,
in
of
a way.
course. Yeah, one of the most important things that I think comes through. I played it a year ago, and all the memories came back to me. It's that, she kind of knows that it's like a memory that like she can just throw herself at her and hug her. Which is something that
Right.
we know Frey has been wanting to
Yeah.
have an emotional moment with her. So it's impactful. But well, next question, which is part of what we're saying as well.
Right.
What was the most emotional and memorable mocap scene
Mm.
for you?
Well, the most emotional and the most memorable are actually two separate scenes for me. So let's see. The most emotional one was definitely the one where Frey and Cinta finally talk honestly to each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ella and Kendall really went all in on that one. So yeah, you can like really feel the conviction and emotional struggle that Cinta feels because like her duty as a Tanta and her personal feelings are kind of at odds
Mm-hmm.
regarding what she needs to do. And I also love, that's a good scene for showing Frey's maturity
Mm-hmm.
because she's quietly contemplating, you know, Talia's destiny or what needs to happen to Talia. And she steals her resolve to go through with it for the sake of Athia and not like she's not selfish. She wants to do it for Athia. And man, that's like such great acting there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have to say that after we shot that scene, there was definitely a lot of tears and
Oh
hugs
my god.
happening
Oh
on
my
the
god.
stage. Yeah, and then for the most memorable, I have to go back to the introductory scene of Cinta
Mm-hmm.
coming up because that was like one of the most fun stunt shoots that I've ever done. Where, yeah, so we chopped up the scene,
Mm-hmm.
segment by segment between the warps of Cinta.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it was really cool to somehow be able to bring her powers to life in real life that way. So what we would do is that
Wow.
we'd shoot one segment, everybody would freeze, and then Cinta's stunt actor would move on to the next spot, and then we'd continue the action from there.
Wow.
And it was just so cool. And I have to say, like Darren Ross, our stunt coordinator, did such magic on the stage that day.
Yes, wow, that is something that I, didn't even think about. Obviously, it does look cool on the gameplay when, she's just moving from one place to the next and
Yeah,
being very cool overall. As Cinta, as this quite enigmatic character that, only shows up until the end of Forspoken.
yeah.
And you finally get to spend some time with her, but I hadn't thought about that, how you recorded it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like sometimes you don't think that those parts are actually like done with mocap.
Yeah,
You
actually I
might
didn't, yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay, let's keep going. The DLC shows some, as we've been talking about,
Mm,
very very emphatic, very important scenes within Frey's development as a character, as she
yeah.
meets her mother. Well, she had already met her, but spend more time with her.
Yeah.
Which do you feel were the key interactions they should have had?
Right, right. So I think the bittersweet thing here is that they didn't get to have the interactions that would have been the most meaningful since Frey
Mhm.
needs to hide her real identity and Cinta never gets to know that she's hanging out with her future daughter.
Yeah.
But one of the key interactions that did happen was that Frey found a way to tell Cinta that she'd make a great mother, right? And she was able to say that without breaking the rules of her little time travel journey. Also, having that heart to heart with Cinta, I think
Hmm.
helped Frey a lot in finding the resolve she needs as a Tanta and like showed her that sometimes you have to make the hard choices. And I think also vice versa, hanging out with Frey helped show Cinta that maybe, just maybe, she can do both her duty and still follow her heart. and it doesn't have to be necessarily only one or the other.
Yeah, because I actually do you do see her struggling, and you do see the as in Tanta we trust moves forward, you see her walls slowly crumbling and
Mm.
slowly getting more affectionate towards Talia, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But it's yeah, because but it's Frey, but at the same time, that is oh my God, such an impactful thing to do, and in the writing as well, to
yeah,
show to Frey for Frey to have to follow these strict rules and at the same time try to show how much she cares for her without telling her who she really is. I
yeah.
think in those final moments, right, in those final scenes
Right, right.
where
Oh,
they like they see they have a heart to heart, which is it's quite emotional. I think
yeah.
it's a one of the best emotional payoffs that I can remember. And yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it in more depth. This question, I think it's a good one. I mean, they all are, but what was the trickiest scene in the DLC to get right, and why?
Oh, yeah. I have to say it's the big scene where the magic within Talia starts to explode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was really tricky because there's a lot of moving pieces in that one.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there were a lot of things that needed to happen in a short span of time.
Hmm.
And it was really hard to get the timing of each right because otherwise you might miss something like when should like Sinta's barrier break and what should happen to indicate that the rebirth of Susurrus is complete, and how do we make it clear that Aldacor actually succeeded even though he died. And
Hmm.
not to mention like that scene is so heavily reliant on VFX.
Yeah.
So before we had all of that, of course, like we had to have Ella, Kendall, and Sam doing the whole scene without any proper visual reference of like what was actually going on. So
Wow.
you can just imagine like there's these three people on stage and there's absolutely nothing else there with them, and then they have to like give this emotional performance of yeah, like everything that's going on between Talia and Cinta in that scene, and it's like we just have to swear from our side like yeah, it's gonna look epic, once it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that a lot of descriptive imagery was going on in there about how things, because the way it went down in the end is magical, of course, and obviously Ella.
Right, absolutely, like Ella was the perfect Frey from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. You mentioned Aldecor as
Yes.
well, which is a very imposing figure.
Hmm.
Um, you didn't see him. He's a new character in the DLC. He really wants to succeed at all costs, even if he has to sacrifice himself in the process.
Yeah.
How do you feel it was most important to portray him in that way?
So yeah, as you say, he was a new character. So the main thing was to kind of keep this mystery around him, and also another really big thing was to make the player feel uncomfortable about all the things that he's doing and him as a character. So if you think about it, this is a character, like you said, who is single-mindedly and fervently pursuing his goal, and he doesn't
Hmm.
let anything stand in his way, like not pain, not being like stuck forever as a huge beast, or even
Yeah,
death. So that's why, like, when he does make that choice of transforming and everything, I really wanted him to to show him relishing that moment and finding joy in that moment, even though he's literally like getting burned alive.
yeah,
And I wanted to create that contrast between his transformation and the transformation of the Reddick soldiers. So the Reddick soldiers are in pain, you can see them suffering,
true.
but Aldecor is basically laughing through his. Yeah, and then also going a bit deeper into that transformation scene, we
Hmm.
did some cool stuff with like the cameras as well.
Hmm.
So we actually broke some basic cinematic rules during that scene, and that was
All
all
right.
to add to the uncomfortableness of the whole thing. And even if you don't know what the rules are,
Uh-huh.
typically you will still feel uncomfortable when they're broken and you feel like something's off. So one of the things, for example, that we did was that when Aldecor, the human,
Mm-hmm.
approaches Frey and Cinta, we show him doing that from screen left. But when Aldecor the beast stomps down his claw, you see that from the screen right, which is breaking the 180 rule, which is like one of the
Mm-hmm.
very core principles of like cinematography. So
Mm-hmm.
something like that will just make you feel a little off. So yeah.
Right, right. Yes, and it comes true in that final fight because I think everything, the mood, the lighting, the music. I think
Mhm.
ever since you changed to the menu to In Tanta We Trust, it is a story that has some love, of course. Things that you want to
Yeah.
see with Frey and Cinta together, but also this really ominous figure in Aldecor
Yeah.
and this very scary one at that. And that final fight is quite impressive, of course, in the cinematic sense. And once the gameplay starts as well, props to the team who made that happen too.
Oh yeah, that's a crazy boss fight right there.
Yes, it definitely was. You know how the story ends of
Yeah.
Intenta We Trust. It's a sort of open-ended ending
Yeah.
in which Frey and Cuff, set their sights on new horizons.
Yeah.
So, what were your most important goals to achieve within Tanta We Trust, knowing all of these factors going into it?
Right. So I think the most important thing was like to still give it our all and show that we, the team, really love the new IP that we created and to show that, there's a lot more stuff to tell if we are given the chance one day.
Yeah.
And I think also like we talked about at the beginning of the interview to just show that we can like do better and push the things that we didn't get to push with
Hmm.
Forspoken. So we definitely managed to up the quality with the DLC, I think, visually. So
Hmm.
I'm very happy with that result.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I even got a little emotional with you saying that. But yes, yes, of course. I mean, you see that with the final updates, one of the things that I love the most is that you could run around Athia,
With the
um,
cats.
with the yes, with the cats. That was, and still is one of the best additions to the game. And obviously, in Tanta we trust, her outfit, the story.
Mm.
I think it you succeeded. You guys succeeded in that sense.
Saying about the outfit, I just have to say that all that stuff that Frey has hanging around like behind her from her waist just made everything so hard.
Yeah, the fur. I mean, I loved it. If I ever see some cosplay or whatever, I will be astounded because everything is very detailed on social media. Virtual photographers
Oh,
go
they're so
go
amazing. Yeah.
yes, go in depth on that outfit now that it's the month of Intenta We Trust,
Yeah.
and you get to really relish all of those little details. What do you believe as a cinematic artist? What do you believe you were able to contribute the most to Forspoken?
I guess probably my extensive knowledge on high quality cinematics since I worked at Remedy previously on
Hmm.
titles like Quantum Break and Control. So I have this deep history with very cinematic titles.
Hmm.
And also, this time on the DLC, being fully in charge of the cinematics, I was also able to work on the pipeline and
Hmm.
to make it better. And I think also the fact that I'm bilingual really helped bridge our team over here and in the States side
Right.
or overseas. And also the fact that I'm familiar with the work styles here and also in the West, so that also helped. And
Of
I
course.
also tried to take like a more empathetic and softer style to leadership. And I think my team responded to that very well and really gave their best on the DLC.
That's fantastic. Yes, yeah, you speak Japanese as well. You're
Yeah.
Finnish, right?
Yeah. So
So
many
yeah,
languages.
yeah. So that's quite commendable. That's amazing, and I'm glad that it helped you bring your work and your knowledge to Forspoken, because as you said, it is an EOIP,
Yeah,
and we need more of those. That is,
we definitely do.
yeah, and congratulations as well. Because now you've also worked on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth,
Thank
so
you.
congratulations on that, and well, it's been a real pleasure to talk with you so far, to have all of these insights
Likewise.
that I and all of the other fans of Forspoken that I personally have seen. Some might not be as vocal, but I've seen
Mm,
them personally, and I've seen them on Twitter, on Tumblr, on YouTube. Speak really passionately about it.
right.
About Frey, about chuckling at Koff's remarks. The open world as well. It's one that I even find quite cathartic. Like I just like to roam around in there, and
Mm.
now with the cats, it's even better. But but yeah, my question is. Now that we're wrapping up, anything that you would like to say to the passionate Forspoken fans?
uh, Lots. I wonder. Let's see. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone for giving Forspoken and Frey a chance. And it's been really humbling to see, indeed, all the love that everyone has for Forspoken. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a rough time last year because of everything. So
Hmm.
seeing all the passion and the love for the title and Frey in particular really helped
Hmm.
me a lot. And it's also been really wonderful to see Forspoken resonate, especially with like marginalized folks. Like I see a lot of women, people of color, and also the LGBTQIA plus community
Hmm.
really enjoying Forspoken. And I've seen like some people saying how Forspoken feels welcoming and tolerant of people of all walks of life, which really means a lot to me.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm just really grateful for the community. And, I just want to say that I see you and I have nothing but love for everybody.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. It's quite encouraging to see, because you see
Mm,
them and when you least expect it. I just found
yeah.
a YouTube video praising it, like a half hour video. I will send it to you.
Please send it to me.
Yeah, just as this guy unscripted praising it for 30 minutes, and I was
Oh,
watching it, and it made me really happy. And I saw a lot of comments, with people on YouTube that don't have any followers and just create their account to write comments,
right.
and saying like, yes, I loved it too, and I love to see more appreciation for it,
Mm,
because it's there. Sometimes you have to look for it, and
yeah.
and I'm glad that you have really found it as well. I mean, your social media account on Twitter is full of that, and I appreciate seeing it every day. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate seeing all these posts and honestly, like more people popping up all the time, which is really nice to see.
Of course, yeah, yeah. You all of the teams should be proud of what you guys created. And well, thank you so much for this interview. It has been enlightening, and emotional as well. Now that anniversaries are always like that. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
we celebrate in Tanta with trust in this way.
Yeah, thank you for loving Intanta. We trust so much that we had this opportunity to talk about it.
Of course, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world.